When we hear the word game, a few images may come to mind. We've all played games in one form or another. Playing games is a universal concept. What draws us to games? According to Jane McGonigal's book, Reality is Broken: Why Games Make Us Better and How They Can Change the World, all games share four defining traits. The goal, the specific outcome that players will work to achieve. Rules, limitations on how players can achieve the goal. Feedback system, the method by which players determine how close they are to achieving the goal. Voluntary participation, everyone who is playing the game willingly and knowingly accepts the goal, the rules, and the feedback. Games satisfy us in a way that the real world sometimes does not. They are challenging and they provide clear feedback and a goal. How often do we find ourselves wandering in the real world without interesting challenges, feedback, or goals? Therefore, we flock to games. But who's really playing them? 69% of all heads of household play computer and video games. 97% of youth play computer and video games. 40% of all gamers are women. The average game player is 35 years old and has been playing for 12 years. Most gamers expect to continue playing games for the rest of their lives. You may have heard of a little game called Farmville. Farmville is an application available through the social media site Facebook. Farmville has more than 80 million users, and 31 million of those users will play every day. The average Farmville user is a 43-year-old female. With all this time spent playing games, could they be useful to business and social services of the real world? Yes. How many of these games have you seen or played? McDonald's Monopoly, a sweepstakes game modeled after the popular Monopoly board game by Hasbro that has run nearly 30 years. Pepsi's Games That Give, a series of web-based games that give 70% of advertising revenue to charity. Sesame Street Games, online games to encourage childhood learning. Taming the Butterfly, a game designed as a week-long community-wide experience to spark ideas for the future of Bloomington, Indiana, and engage hundreds of TEDx Bloomington conference participants before the conference even begins. Free Rice, a trivia game that donates rice through the World Food Program for every correct answer. Lotus Cartography, a scavenger hunt that encourages visitors to the Lotus Festival to explore Bloomington's entertainment and art district. Studio Cipher, a business that specializes in game design and web assessments based in Bloomington, Indiana, believes in their philosophy, amazing games everywhere. They have helped museums, visitors bureaus, education providers, and exposition organizers further their missions and connect with their publics through the power of games.
What's the connection between gaming and education? And it's a one-to-one connection, really.
Right, and so in terms of structuring, then it's mostly just a matter of how do you structure it so that the information that people get is something that they can easily take from the game and transfer to their real life. Often it's trying to communicate with a new audience, often a younger audience, because kids nowadays have grown up with games, and that anyone under 30 has grown up with video games, and it's become more and more popular over time. So the younger you get, the more those people have been exposed to video games and see that as sort of a natural thing. Another aspect of it is engagement, increasing engagement. You see that sometimes in not literal games. You often see that in terms of adding game-like elements to other things, allowing people to mash up videos or send challenges to friends, or in some sense, some of the sweepstakes they have, like the McDonald's stuff where you have the Monopoly board game. It's not exactly an online game, but it is a game and allows people to engage in new ways that they wouldn't have otherwise, and to communicate that engagement to their friends and people at large.
And the other thing is really them being the companies, the clients, trying to connect better with their audience. For instance, when we have worked with the museums, the thing we found out is that natural history museums in the past 100 years or so, their goal used to be, well, I mean, it was just a place to house the stuff they found. Really, that's what the museum was. Like, they'd go out in the field and they'd find artifacts and they'd bring the artifacts back, or they'd just ship the artifacts back and say, throw this in a glass case and put this tag on it and we're done. That's it. And they've realized, especially with funding, and they're trying to actually bring people in, and they actually care that people come in, because the more connected an individual is to their experience there at the museum, the more likely they're going to tell their friends, or they're going to come back. They realize that it's now a conversation with their audience, not just a, hey, look at this thing. And so we did work for the Field Museum in Chicago, and that's totally what we were doing. We were trying to give a hands-on experience that isn't dry and boring. It's got some sort of personal connection with the...
If you allow people to experiment within certain parameters, they're much more likely to remember it and to care about it than if they are just told or read or see facts.